Welcome. Today, I'm going to teach you 9 things you can do right now to improve your guitar playing. And these are all things that it took me years to learn that I wish I knew at the beginning of my guitar journey. But first, why would you listen to me? So I've been a professional guitar player for 17 years at this point. I've spent 15 years teaching guitar from the back of guitar stores, at the high school level, at the college level, and most recently, I run the online guitar community, Guitar Gym Pro. So the plan for this video is I'm going to give you 9 techniques or ideas that you can apply right now, not in any particular order. I'm not going to string these together. They don't necessarily build on each other. So let's talk about getting a clean, clear note every time. So we need to use good technique with our left hand. So we're going to start by doing a thumbs up. Pad of your thumb goes on the middle of the back of the neck, maybe a little north. Then we're going to use the tip of our finger. So not the pad of our finger. If you look at my finger here, not the pad, but the tip top, like the point of your bone is going into the string. And you want to use the least amount of pressure necessary. So here's what I do. I just set my finger down on this string and I just get a thunk because I'm not pushing. And then I gently apply pressure until I have enough for a clean, clear note. And that's all the pressure that I ever want to use. I also want to be, I'm going to go back to that. I also want to be as close to the fret as I can be without touching it. It's the last idea. It's going to give you a clean, clear note every time. Usually when we're playing something, whether it's a chord, whether it's a riff, whether it's a lick, whatever it is, if we're not getting clean, clear notes, it's not because we're not pushing hard enough. It's because we're not in the right position to get that note clean and clear. The fret, that metal strip, should be doing most of the work. All right, let's talk about fret hand muting. That means our left hand is going to be muting some strings, right? So a lot of times we think about when we're strumming, maybe a 5-string chord like a C, I'm not actually playing the 6th string, I'm missing. But we can actually intentionally mute notes. So I'm going to use an example with this G chord. If I lift up my pointer finger, this 5th string is going to touch the kind of pad of my middle finger. When I lift it up, you can hear if I pluck just the 5th string, here, it's kind of muted. That is fret hand muting, and that's naturally happening the way that I'm playing this chord. It's coming out that way. We can also do it with our thumb over. I do this a lot with like maybe a C chord. I'll actually bring my thumb, not just the middle of the back, but actually a little further over, curl it just a little bit so it's on that thickest string. I'll do this for a D chord too, so that that muted string that we're muting with part of our hand isn't ringing out. You can also use the side of your finger. So using a C as an example, I can actually, instead of being on the tip top of my finger, be a little bit more on the pad so that the tip of this finger is hitting that thickest string. Now I know this goes against what I just told you about clean, clear notes. So you would want to make sure that you can get on the tip of your finger, that you can have the pad of your thumb in the middle of the back. And then once we're feeling good about that and we're trying to deal with these ringing strings, we can start to adjust our technique just a little bit to make these micro adjustments to get this fret hand muting. We can also move our fingers flat. So let's say we're playing a power chord. So I'm doing this on the 3rd fret. If I'm on the tip tops of my fingers, all the strings would ring open. But if I flatten my fingers out just a little bit, it looks like I'm barring with this finger, but I'm not. I'm actually using it to mute the top 2 strings. And I'm actually using the side of this finger, the tip of this finger, to mute that string. So I can strum all 6, but you only hear 3 ring. So that's what fret hand muting is. Now this is a little bit more of an advanced technique, but it's something that's really good to start paying attention to wherever you are in your guitar journey. Let's talk about pick depth. So what do I mean here? When I am playing with a pick, let's go, where's the camera? There we go. I don't want to be holding the pick at the very back of it and letting a ton of it out available to strum. It's going to make that pick want to wiggle from side to side really badly, and it's going to make it pop out of my hand. Instead, you'll see I've choked up pretty far. There we go, turning it for the camera, pretty far on that pick. And I've done that intentionally. There's not much pick exposed. Now, you would think, hey, that's going to make it hard to strum. I don't have as much pick. I'm going to hit my fingers. But I want you to imagine if this right here is the string. There we go, pointing it at the camera. and this is the pick, I only want the pick to go as deep as the string is. I don't want it to go past the string. And my finger's way thicker than a string. So I'm not trying to go past the string, only as far as the string is when I pluck or strum. So I'm not going in deep and then plucking, I'm just gently plucking. Even if I want to be loud, I might use a little bit more force, but I'm not putting it deeper in the string. So again, that pick depth is really, really shallow, and that's going to help with our groove when we strum, and then that's going to help our confidence when we're playing single note lines and be able to move much more quickly with that right hand. Now let's talk about our pick angle, not just the pick depth. So I like to call it 10 to 20 degrees. So I'm going to move this a little further this way so you can see, where I'm plucking, where I'm strumming. Instead of having my pick be dead flat, right? I'm not running exactly parallel to the strings. I'm actually turning about 10 or 20 degrees. Not much, not like, a ton, just 10 to 20 degrees, a slight angle down, and then it'll be a slight angle the other way when we're coming up. This is kind of cutting into the strings. It's going to work a little bit like a bevel. You'll see pictures of like Stevie Ray Vaughan's picks or like guys who use the same pick over and over for a really long time, and you'll see it sort of starts to wear the edges of the pick in a certain way to make it easier to cut through those strings. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make it as easy to get through the strings as possible, but this works really well when we're strumming as well. All right, number 5, picking versus strumming. So we want to pick when we're plucking. We want to pick from the wrist. I'm going to actually get rid of that so you can see it's my wrist that's moving, right? My wrist is moving. It's a little bit this way, it's a little bit this way, but it's all about that loose wrist. Now, if we think about strumming, and I'm going to move this again so you can see it, we're strumming from the elbow. Now my wrist is still loose and it's still going in the strum, but mostly you see that my elbow's kind of the big momentum behind that strum. So we're going to do those two things different. Picking is from the wrist, strumming from the elbow. Number 6, timing above all. So what do I mean by that? New chords are cool. Love learning new chords. New strumming patterns, cooler than new chords. But even better is playing a better groove on a strumming pattern you already know. Groove, timing is the most important thing in music. Audiences are going to forgive tons and tons of mistakes, but they'll always remember if you mess up timing. This is the thing that is going to make a song sound like the song more than the notes, more than even the chords. The rhythm is the thing that most, even non-musicians, are going to recognize first, and they are going to notice when it is not correct. All right, it's the coolest. All right, here we go. Proper technique. There is no right technique. I know that sounds really crazy coming from a guitar teacher, but the only thing that really matters is eliminating tension. In your right hand, in your left hand, wherever you're playing, the thing that matters most is eliminating tension. So technique advice that I'm giving you, that any guitar player is giving you, is someone saying, this is how they have eliminated tension. So when I say, pluck from your wrist, there's guys who pluck using using this as an example. You can see here, they're going like this. Tony Rice is a good example, bluegrass player. He'll flex his fingers actually when he's plucking. Now I find it's harder to be relaxed that way. So that's not how I teach to pick. But if you can do it in a relaxed manner, that is a valid way to play the instrument. You can see people doing all kinds of crazy things on the guitar and doing it really well because they're not using tension. Now, when you go to a guitar teacher, what we're going to tell you is, hey, here's how most people don't have tension while playing the guitar, doing the thing you want to do. We're going to give you the best practice. But the important thing is if you're doing something and you're doing it well and there's no tension, you are using great technique. Don't let anybody talk you out of doing something that you're doing really well and really relaxed because it's, wrong. All right, number 8. 90% of the time when we play guitar, we're playing rhythm. So this is the most important skill to get gigs, to play for others, to play with others at a jam, to record. Anything on guitar, we want to be able to play rhythm guitar. Chords are important. If you learn a new vocabulary move, a new thing to do for rhythm guitar, you're going to be able to use that so much more than any single lead guitar technique because mostly we're playing rhythm. And so while it's really fun to solo, and I absolutely encourage experimenting with it, it helps our ear, it helps our timing, it's great. I'm not saying that we shouldn't do it, but a lot of times we kind of obsess over scales and patterns and soloing when most of the time we're going to be called to lay down the groove for someone else, singing or soloing. All right, number 9, the last one. Now, this is just a tip on learning the neck. I've got other content about exactly how to do it, but this is a really important tip. You don't need to know the whole neck to solo, right? Now, there's different shapes, different ways to play. There's ways to map out the neck, and it's great to map out the neck, but to take a solo, to take your first solo to go to the jam, you don't have to know all of this, right? One tiny spot's going to get the job done for most solos. So if we're in the key of G and playing a blues, right? I can play it all right in this little spot. Now, could I have played it higher? Could I keep going? Could I do all those things? Sure. But if I get 12 bars to solo because there's 4 guitar players on a jam, that little bit's going to get the job done and get it done well. Don't wait till you feel like you know the whole neck to get started. All right, that's the last tip. If you found this helpful, I have more free lessons just like this, along with a free community of other guitar players who are just like you, learning, getting better, growing. It's the best community online for guitar players, and it is free forever. It's at school with a K, SKOOL.com/guitar. I'll leave a link below. Come join us there. Play some more guitar with us. Have fun. We'll do live Q&As. There's new lessons all the time. Lots of fun stuff. A lot of cool players. We'll see you in there.